ما شفنا شيء.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Tolls continue to climb in Nepal after a massive 7.9 magnitude earthquake rips through large parts of the country, toppling offices in Kathmandu. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri holds a new set of talks with U.S. officials in Washington. And actress Angelina Jolie pleads with world powers to help the millions of Syrian refugees, criticizing the UN Security Council for being paralyzed by its divisions over Syria's conflict. Hundreds of people were feared killed in Nepal after a massive 7.9 magnitude earthquake ripped through large parts of the country, toppling offices, blocks, and towers in the panic-stricken capital, Kathmandu. Officials say that at least so far 597 people are known to have died in Nepal, but the toll could be much higher, with casualties also reported in neighboring India and Bangladesh. There were also reports of an avalanche at Mount Everest Base Camp in Nepal, where scores of mountaineers have gathered at the start of the annual climbing session. At least a dozen bodies were taken away from the ruins of Kathmandu's landmark Dharahara Tower. Witnesses and media reports say the tremors lasted between 30 seconds and 2 minutes and were felt across the border in India, including New Delhi. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri held a new set of talks with U.S. officials in Washington, according to a statement from his media office. The statement said Hariri met separately with National Security Advisor Susan Rice and Under Secretary of Defense for Policy Christine Wormuth and representatives of the Arab press. The meeting with Rice was also attended by Amal Mudallali, Advisor of American Affairs, Yael Lempert, the National Security Council Senior Director for the Levant, Israel and Egypt, and Kathleen Costello, the Director of the Office for Lebanon. Hariri earlier met with Vice President Joe Biden. He began meetings with U.S. officials on Wednesday when he held talks with Secretary of State John Kerry. Tripoli Mayor Nader Ghazal submitted his resignation this morning to North Lebanon Governor Ramzi Nohra at a news conference. Political sources told the Daily Star that Ghazal's resignation comes as a result of the Future movement's dissatisfaction with his performance. It comes 1 week after Ghazal was invited for a meeting with Future movement chief Saad Hariri in Saudi Arabia. At a news conference, the mayor did not mention any pressure from the Future movement and said his resignation comes as a result of an executive deadlock at the municipal board. Ghazal accused sides he did not name of adopting a disruptive agenda that mostly aims to achieve private interests on the expense of the city's public good. He said the deadlock at the municipal board that had been preventing it from performing its executive duties resulted from the diversity of its members. Future Movement Parliamentary Bloc Leader MP Fouad Senoura is stressing that Free Patriotic Movement Chief MP Michel Aoun has no chances of reaching the presidential palace in Babda. The hijacked presidency is ruining the country's reputation, Senoura's visitors quoted him as saying in comments published in a Safed newspaper. He pointed out that the presidential vacuum is worsening the situation in the country and accused Hezbollah of impeding the polls over its insistence to press the election of Aoun. Senoura pointed out that it is clear that Aoun has no chance of reaching the presidency. Media reports said that Aoun's main objective is to receive political consensus on the appointment of Rukuz as army chief as part of a package for the appointment of other top security officers. Fighters of Syria's al-Qaeda affiliate and its allies overran the last major government-held city in the northwestern province of Idlib. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the bodies of at least 60 government fighters were lying in the streets of Just al-Shughur after the rebel attack. The Islamists launched their attack on the city, seeking to capitalize on their capture of the provincial capital last month. As well as being one of the regime's last bastions in Idlib province, Just al-Shughur capture also opens up a strategic assault route to the government stronghold of Latakia on the Mediterranean coast. Syrian state television said army units are engaged in fierce clashes in the city of Just al-Shughur and are strengthening their defensive positions in the surrounding area. Actress Angelina Jolie pleaded with world powers to help the millions of Syrian refugees, sharply criticizing the UN Security Council for being paralyzed by its division over Syria's four-year conflict. Jolie briefed the Council as special envoy for the UN on refugee issues. She spoke as the Council prepared to hear the details of a new plan for peace talks set to begin early next month in Geneva.
Any one of the Syrians I have met would speak more eloquently about the conflict than I ever could. Nearly 4 million Syrian refugees are victims of a conflict they have no part in. Yet they are stigmatized, unwanted, and regarded as a burden. So I'm here for them, because this is their United Nations. International humanitarian law prohibits torture, starvation, the targeting of schools and hospitals. But these crimes are happening every day in Syria. The Security Council has powers to address these threats to international peace and security, but those powers lie unused. The UN has adopted the responsibility to protect concept, saying that when a state cannot protect its people, the international community will not stand by. But we are standing by in Syria. It is sickening to see thousands of refugees drowning on the doorstep of the world's wealthiest continent. No one risks the lives of their children in this way except out of utter desperation. If we cannot end the conflict, we have an inescapable moral duty to help refugees and provide legal avenues to safety.
At least 27 people killed in Yemen as fighting rages between rebels and loyalists of exiled President Hadi. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Future Television. This is the English news. At least 27 people were killed in Yemen as fighting rages on in southern towns between rebels and loyalists of exiled President Abdurrabbu Mansour al-Hadi. At least 4 pro-Hadi fighters and 6 Houthi Shia rebels were killed in dawn clashes in the town of Daleh, north of the main southern city of Aden. 8 more rebels were killed in an ambush. There were also heavy clashes in Aden itself as Saudi-led warplanes kept up strikes on rebel positions despite the coalition's announcement that it was halting the bombing campaign. Targets included the rebel-held presidential palace, which was Hadi's last refuge before he fled to neighboring Saudi Arabia last month. The persistent fighting comes despite mounting calls for dialogue to end a conflict that the United Nations says has killed more than 1,000 people since late March, at least 115 of them children. Israeli troops shot and killed a young Palestinian man wielding 2 knives as they gave chase after he tried to attack the troops near a checkpoint in the Jerusalem area. The incident occurred at around midnight near the Az-Zayyim checkpoint at the outskirts of East Jerusalem in the occupied West Bank. Israel captured in 1967 war that Palestinians seek for a state. The dead man's cousin, Haitham Abu Ghanam, said his cousin was killed for no reason. Police spokeswoman Luba Samni said that paramilitary border police fired warning shots to warn the man. Samni said the troops fired precise shots neutralizing the suspect when he failed to heed their warnings, and that medics confirmed the suspect had died of his injuries. Violence in the Jerusalem area has flared on and off since just before a 50-day July-August Gaza war, when Israelis killed a Palestinian youth in revenge for the slayings of 3 kidnapped Israeli teenagers. A ceremony was held in London to commemorate the centenary of the Gallipoli campaign in World War I. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, attended the service at the cenotaph in Whitehall. The service marks the centennial of the ill-fated British-led dawn landings on Turkey's Gallipoli Peninsula by Australian, New Zealand, and other Allied troops in World War I. UK broadcaster Sky News showed footage of British Prime Minister David Cameron and Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg laying wreaths at the cenotaph. As Armenia marks the centenary of a mass killing of Armenians by Ottoman Turks, the United States avoided the use of the word genocide to describe it. White House spokesman Josh Earnest, in a daily news briefing, said U.S. President Barack Obama does point out the importance of acknowledging the 1.5 million Armenians who were massacred in this terrible incident in history.
Well, the President, as you pointed out, issued a long statement earlier today to mark Armenian Remembrance Day. But he does point out the importance of acknowledging the 1.5 million Armenians who were massacred in this terrible incident in history. And the President believes in the value of acknowledging those historical facts. And there's a particular line in the President's statement that jumped out at me, which is that the President indicated that we welcome the expression of views by Pope Francis, Turkish and Armenian historians, and the many others who have sought to shed light on this dark chapter of history. Well, I think that the President has spoken very clearly and directly in the context of this specific statement. So I'd refer you to those comments. I'd also point out that the United States Treasury Secretary Jack Lew led a U.S. delegation to the Armenian Remembrance services and activities in Armenia. And again, I think that's an indication of the President's commitment to ensuring that we not allow even these very tragic incidents from going unnoticed, and that acknowledging what had happened in history is important.
This marks the end of a bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Tolls continue to climb in Nepal after a massive 7.9 magnitude earthquake rips through large parts of the country, including Kathmandu. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri holds a new set of talks with U.S. officials in Washington. And actress Angelina Jolie pleads with world powers to help the millions of Syrian refugees, criticizing the UN Security Council for being paralyzed by its division over Syria's conflict. This wraps up your headlines on this Saturday. Have a very nice weekend, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
ما شفني شيء.